When Hollywood's pristine facade shattered in 1969, it wasn't celebrity scandal that broke it, but something far more sinister, a cult masterminded by someone who commanded death without ever wielding the blade himself. The majority of believers in moral order found themselves dwelling on the outskirts of this chilling mystery, unable to grasp how magnetic charisma could weaponize vulnerable souls into killers. Charles Manson was his name, a washed-up musician and former convict who possessed an uncanny magnetism that drew the desperate and impressionable. Standing barely 5 feet tall with wild hair and piercing eyes, he compensated for his physical limitations with psychological manipulation that defied comprehension. The mysteries of his mind control techniques remain puzzling to researchers even today, as he transformed rejection and failure into tools of domination. From a deteriorating desert ranch called Spawn Ranch, he assembled believers who would forsake their humanity, molding them into lethal instruments through warped teachings that offered false community and identity. Young women, mostly from middle-class backgrounds, abandoned their families to follow this charismatic prophet who promised enlightenment but delivered darkness. He used sex, drugs, and twisted scripture to break down their psychological defenses, creating a hive mind where his word became absolute law. The Manson family became his creation, built on prophecies of racial apocalypse and delusions that the Beatles communicated coded instructions through their songs. Most believers in logical reasoning remained on the outskirts of grasping how pop culture could be twisted into violent prophecy. This doomsday fantasy he labeled helter-skelter demanded bloodshed to ignite. A mystery that exposes humanity's most terrifying vulnerabilities to manipulation and the dangerous power of charismatic leadership over vulnerable minds. August 9, 1969 marked the night 4 cult members invaded actress Sharon Tate's residence at 10050 Cielo Drive, where she lived 8 months into her pregnancy with director Roman Polanski's child. Susan Atkins, Patricia Krenwinkel, Charles Watson, and Linda Kasabian arrived with rope and knives, transforming a peaceful Beverly Hills home into a scene of unimaginable horror. They slaughtered Tate alongside 4 others in brutal fashion, leaving "pig" written in victims' blood across the walls. The victims included Jay Sebring, a renowned hairstylist, Abigail Folger, coffee heiress, Wojciech Frykowski, a Polish writer, and Stephen Parent, an innocent teenager who happened to be visiting. Each death was methodical, cruel, and seemingly random to outsiders, but these believers in Manson's warped doctrine moved without question, their crimes spawning mysteries that continue plaguing forensic psychology decades later. 24 hours later, they attacked again, selecting Leno and Rosemary LaBianca as random targets for their deadly mission. The couple was tortured, stabbed repeatedly, and left with "death to pigs" and "helter-skelter" carved into their bodies and scrawled on walls. The killers ransacked the home, ate food from the refrigerator, and showered before leaving, displaying a chilling detachment from their horrific actions. Though Manson never personally committed these murders, he orchestrated every detail and issued each deadly command from his desert stronghold. His disciples followed orders as if receiving divine instruction, grinning during confessions while proclaiming Manson represented ultimate truth and pledging to kill again on his word. Most believers in human compassion remained on the outskirts of understanding such complete moral surrender, mystified by how psychological domination could erase fundamental ethical boundaries. The investigation that followed revealed the true scope of Manson's psychological control and the mysteries surrounding his ability to transform ordinary people into killers. Prosecutor Vincent Bugliosi spent months unraveling the complex web of manipulation, ultimately securing convictions for Manson and his followers. The trial became a media sensation, with Manson's bizarre courtroom behavior and his followers' unwavering loyalty shocking the public and legal experts alike. After receiving life imprisonment for masterminding 7 killings, Manson spent nearly 5 decades behind bars, becoming one of America's most notorious criminals. He died in prison in 2017 at age 83, yet his cult's impact persists through popular culture, psychological studies, and public nightmares. Books, documentaries, and movies continue exploring the case, each attempting to decode the mysteries of his influence over vulnerable minds. The case fundamentally changed how law enforcement approaches cult investigations and domestic terrorism. Criminal psychologists study Manson's methods to understand how charismatic leaders exploit psychological vulnerabilities, while cult experts use his techniques as a textbook example of dangerous mind control. His story serves as a warning about the power of manipulation and the importance of recognizing warning signs in extremist groups. The mysteries behind his brainwashing methods continue fascinating experts seeking to comprehend how believers become murderers. Modern researchers examine social media's role in radicalization, drawing parallels between Manson's desert commune and today's online echo chambers. Manson constructed more than just a cult. He engineered a chaos machine, leaving behind an enormous mystery that most believers in human virtue choose to examine from safe distances, never fully penetrating the abyss of evil that can devour the human spirit and transform love into violence.